Welcome back, everybody. We are here with the final four games of the World Scrabble Championship. As always, your MC, Matt Canik here. And again, I am joined this afternoon by James Curley to be doing some analysis and commentary on these games. James, welcome back to the stream. It's good to have you again.
Yeah, hi Matt. I'm very excited about this. We've got, it's going to go down to the wire, doesn't it? It's very tight at the top.
Yeah, this is going to be so exciting. It is exceptionally tight at the top. Harshan in first place right now, 12 spread points ahead of Wellington, who has the same record, 21-7. Dave Wiegand has won, I believe, 10 out of 11 to surge into third place from out of nowhere. He is one game behind at 20-8. David Eldar, who we will feature on stream as well, a half game behind Dave, 1.5 games behind our co-leaders Harshan and Wellington, and he is absolutely looking for a win in this one. A Harshan victory and a David loss would make it very difficult for David to make it into tomorrow's finals. For those of you just tuning in or with a short memory, the first and second place players after 32 rounds of play will play in a best of 7 finals tomorrow for the title of World Scrabble Champion. So players vying to be in either first or second, that is the goal at the end of play today. We have 4 more games to see how the field shakes out. And at this point, a 4-0 afternoon from a number of players could get them there. Harshan and Wellington certainly in the driver's seat of England and Nigeria, respectively. But Dave Wiegand of America, Eldar of Australia, Will Anderson of America, Andrew Fisher of Australia, and Charles Tachi Minson of Ghana all look poised to potentially make a run as well, and never sleep on former world champion Adam Logan in 8th place out of Canada. It will be very exciting to watch these last 4 games go down. David Eldar has also won a world championship before. He looks to make it title number 2, and Harshan has not yet claimed the crown. He looks to do so here for the first time. I am so excited for what we're about to see.
Yep, there's the handshake. These two players have played each other a lot before in England. I mean, Harshan's based in England. David used to live in England. So they're familiar with each other's games. And let's see how it unfolds.
And James, if you can't tell from the accent, also used to live in England, although now he is living in the States, living in Austin, Texas with me, actually, for now, but I'll be moving out shortly. Harshan to play first in this big, big game, AOUYV, and an ND, the last 2 tiles out of this rack. So I see a couple options. VODUN would be a great way to uncouple that awful UV combination. Or as a shout out to the bingo Dave Wiegand missed last round, he could play OUNDY for 26 here. James, would you play Vodun?
Yeah, I think Vodun is the most obvious play to get rid of the U and the V, keeping AY. I think AY is a little bit better than AV, but I don't think Aundy is a bad play. So either of those look okay. I prefer Vodun.
Yeah, Vodun looks to be the standard option here, and Harshan has set it up on his rack. This morning, there were some interruptions in the playing room as a cheerleading competition apparently took off across the hallway. You can see Harshan looking to block out distractions here. I sure hope we don't have noise once again. I think this is just hyper focus from the Englishman. Vodun is the play, 26 points to open things for Harshan. And now David looking to respond. AIKLNQW. And of course, when you're sitting on a Q, the most opportune tile to see floated out there is a U. So we'll see David likely able to cash points out of that with a play like Quip or Quinn, or perhaps he doesn't use that U and plays QADI through that D instead. James, would you be looking to play QADI and hold the 4 consonants for 34, or would you shed several points here playing Quip, Quinn, or Qua for 26-28?
I would probably play for the points and take 34. I mean, the K and the N work okay together, don't they? If that's not too bad. I think David might look at some other options. Quail scores 25, putting the Q obviously above the U, keeping only 3 consonants. But I think Caddy scoring 34 is a pretty good start to the game, and you're likely to draw a vowel. So I expect that.
Yeah, Kadi, he's taking the points, and the way those vowels are positioned, opportunity potentially to drop consonants between them on those double letter squares for a substantial amount of points. Kadi, I think, is the play to make here, and David agrees as he plays it. 34 points to pull ahead of Harshan. Aaiosty, the rack now for Harshan. He looks to respond, but with a lot of vowels, he will not have many opportunities to do so. The S could be cashed in right now for points, pluralizing QADI. If he chooses to do so, Soya, Soya, looks potentially like a good option for him. Perhaps also satay, Satay, delicious food, and a high scoring 35-point play here. Though the IO leave a little bit unbalanced. Would you score 35 and hold IO, or would you look to play off the Y instead and hold more stable consonants here?
It's 9 more points, but IO could just turn into something very, very bad. The other downside of Satay, if he plays that under Caddy, is that the Y will kind of be hanging on that double lane, and okay, the S has to be in the 6th position, but you could get hit pretty bad. I'm not sure which I would really prefer, but I think I'm leaning slightly towards Sawyer. OI just feels, but it looks like Harshan is playing something else.
That is very interesting, opting perhaps just to fish one tile here. AAIOST will draw bingos with many consonants, but another vowel could be big trouble. Of course, in Scrabble, about 60 to 40 percentage vowels versus consonants. Not every consonant to bingo here for Harshan, of course, but this a very non-standard and curious play. Let's see what he draws. Will the gambit work out for him?
I see bingos with a C or an H. Is there anything else if he draws?
Antonia's.
Yeah. So there are things out there for him.
So David wasting no time. Swink for 41 points coming down. Harshan opting not to cash his S, and David instead with the opportunity to do so himself. What is that 6th tile for Harshan? Or the 7th tile, rather.
Tile, yeah. His 6th one is a T.
Yes. His 6th tile is indeed a T. And the 7th one, has he drawn it?
David's drawn, so I'm presuming it's face down on the table right now. I see it to the left of his rack, I think, face down on the table.
And perhaps Harshan choosing, to take care of all the paperwork before even looking at this next rack, as there it is, a U. We saw earlier Harshan able to win a game he should have been defeated in because his opponent mistracked the tiles. Will Anderson botching a game on that play. So he wants to make sure his paperwork is all in order, no mistakes made. AAIOSTU. The gambit does not yield any dividends, and now likely going to see a vowel dump. AUA, auto, or auta, perhaps, from Harshan. What do you think, James?
Yeah, for our AUA. That plays under swink, under the K. He doesn't have a P floating in on the board for autopsia. That would be an 8 with that rack, but it was an interesting play dropping the Y. It obviously has not paid off. So I think this time you just play off 3 vowels and keep a fairly decent leave. I think I prefer keeping OITS to OUTS, but maybe he likes the out prefix and wants to go that way.
Yeah, the U generally viewed as a very bad tile in Scrabble. I'd certainly be looking to shed the U instead of the I in this situation. And interesting is certainly one way to describe that Y plunk. Certainly, in hindsight, it looks very painful. But I think many, even before seeing the draw, would perhaps view that somewhere between non-standard and a clear blunder from Harshan.
Yeah, he presumably just didn't want to burn the S at this stage for 25 or so points. Maybe he didn't see Satay. But anyway, we're in this position now, so he's obviously just Looks like he's settled on Aya, or however we say that.
This also looks rather strange. IOST looks much stronger to me than okay, he's going to score more points with it, I suppose. 14 as opposed to 12 with this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still would have played the U. I would have rather had additional points in this situation. Alas, Aya the play, OUST the leave for Harshan, and David now CILLRUV on his rack. VRIL is going to play very nicely beneath Aya. Nav, Kier, AI, the overlaps there. That is easily David's best play per the computer for 29 points out of this rack.
Yeah, and he saw that immediately. He saw that he probably already realized that's the word one of the words on his rack he wanted to play. And when the Aya came down, he just saw the spot.
And Harshan now, OORSTTU, is not going to be able to bingo again this turn, it appears.
I'm curious. Scoring options here.
He would have risotto if he had held that eye last turn, but instead he's got nothing this turn.
Yeah, this is going to be one of these plays where he has to think about, scoring a few points while maintaining the best lead he possibly can. I think that probably means getting rid of a T and a U and an O, so looking to play off OUT or maybe TOUN, making IU. That gets rid of those tiles, keeping TORS.
This is a tricky turn. Yeah, TOUN and AYU makes some sense. If he is trying to shell out for the bingo a little bit more aggressively, he could look to play just TOO and TAY through that O and Vodun. If he wants to open this board, perhaps just drop OUT beneath Vril. I don't like that option at all. Maybe TOUT in that same spot. I don't know. There's a lot to think about here, but you've got to start feeling bummed if you're Harshan. You've been missing on these bingo pulls consistently and stuck with these tiles that just don't score well for you.
Yeah, you can't play out with the A back hook. That's just not going to fly. So he's playing tune or town or however that. Another word I don't know how to pronounce, Matt.
There's many of those in top level Scrabble, and I'm sure even these players don't know how to pronounce them. David demonstrating once again those wonderful arm pores we've gotten to know very well as he keeps covering his rack like that as he tracks his tiles. All 4 U's now, either on the board or on David's rack now, but fortunately for these players, the Q is 2. U a terrible tile, Q a terrible tile, but great together. We'll have all of them gone early in this game. David has one nice play here to shed a lot of these tiles through the V. That would be uvular, UVULAR, 18 points. The JC combination, very strange.
I like that as JC, personally.
Do you like them together?
Yeah, well, I think they make good initials.
That's I see. Yes, very good.
I see he could play Jura in a few spots, JURA. Do you think you'd consider exchanging to maybe CAL?
I might think about it, yes, but I am also looking to play off tiles. That S hook behind VRIL looks rather important in this game, and I'd like to have an S and or a blank on my rack. I do like this play of uvular quite a bit. It also sets up potential overlaps for the J with that A strung out there. So I like the play of uvular here.
Can I let paranoia come in a little bit? Well, we know that Harshan's going to bingo on his next turn, so he's drawn the blank. But with the U, I always worry about a 5-letter X play coming down. But I mean, that's a little bit on the, being a bit too paranoid. But it looks like he's going to play that.
Yeah, 5-letter X plays could be devastating. We saw Harshan yesterday. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was Tatcha, but Tatcha able to play Xeris for 91 points late in a game to clinch a game that he then gave away the next turn. But I don't know. You can't play Paranoid. That's only going to score 60 if you have the X in that spot, and a bingo is going to score 70. So if you're scared of the X, you should be more scared of the bingo, which is also far more likely to come down.
And David's actually drawn a Y, so he may get a chance to play to that U anyway on his next turn. So it was a nice play of Uvular. It did what he needed to do, get rid of those 2 U's and score a few points.
So Harshan with a wonderful rack now, EIORST blank. I think my mother could find a bingo out of this rack, and she does not play competitive Scrabble. So Harshan, instead of trying to find a bingo, tasked with finding the best bingo in this situation. There is a sneaky one that plays underneath VRIL. ROESTIS scores 87 should he spot the nice underlap there. Otherwise, he'll have to score a little bit less. One other big question: does Uvular take a back S? And is Harshan certain of it? If he is, Stories will play in that spot, making NAVE and KIRS, stringing this board together nicely for 83. But is he certain of the hook?
If he plays Roasties, he's going to give David a spot for a bingo.
Whoa.
And that would be some fireworks. So I'm not sure whether... don't see a spot for David's bingo right now. So this is interesting for Harshan. Well, he's just got to make his best play. But David's certainly has a very strong interest in how the board looks after Harshan's turn.
Yeah, so one of those instances where the best play is going to turn out to be not the best play, as David holding the 7-letter Joyance on his rack, which could come down for major points if given a spot. I wonder if Harshan plays Stories and Uvulars and shuts this thing down. He will pull slightly ahead after this bingo, so perhaps defense something he's considering here. But with the rack this good, there are so many options. The question is, how long do I want to spend on this rack? How much do I need to reserve for the rest of the game? A big turn for Harshan for numerous reasons.
I think knowing that, I mean, these players are obviously the top of the top. You would expect them to know the S backhook on Ovula, but it's a hard one to be 100% certain of in this game. You know, it's not something that you would just expect to be definitely true. You'd have to know it cold.
This is a very interesting turn for Harshan, and a very pivotal one, especially given we know David's rack hidden behind those wonderful arm hairs.
I think we see this a lot. Players are going to take the time to find the correct play, and so Harshan is definitely running through all the different options.
Harshan of England, a medical doctor, obviously someone who has put in years and years and years of study to his profession, and also to be playing Scrabble at this level, one who has studied for years and years and years the lexicon and the words he's able to play. He'll need to find the best one in this situation.
I think a backup play for David, if he's unable to play the bingo, might be to play Enjoy down to the YU. That's maybe what David's considering right now. Obviously, he wants his bingo to play, but you at all concerned about the time here, or are we still in this part of the game where it's okay to run this low on time at this point?
So here it comes, and he has spotted the wonderful underlap, ROESTIS, coming down 87 points. And yet that is going to allow Joyance to come back for a large score from David. Though the way that bingo plays, slotting that J just above the triple word score, likely going to allow more points back to Harshan. So a little drecky at the beginning, Q and a bunch of U's on the racks, but a bingo here, a bingo from the Aussie to respond, and then maybe a huge score from Harshan next turn, depending
I'll
on
always take my 100+ point bingo though, Matt. You know, he may play a little word under the J, but 100 and something.
102 for Joyance.
Yeah, I'll take that.
What is Harshan? Looks like bingo's potentially in the cards here with the vowel. There's another E, Hermes, and an X. Wow. So no A, no O to play underneath the J, but he will have that 5-tile X play. Remix playing to the U in Uvular is 61.
Well, we have a board here, don't we?
Quite.
Yeah, and he's gonna hold the H to be able to play under that C of Joyance, possibly if David goes under the J. So Harshan could be scoring strongly on 2 turns here.
It's so easy for your eye to pull straight to the bottom half of this board with those 2 red squares exposed. Hex, Ch, and Ree looks so clearly correct to my gut, and yet remix probably a better play for Harshan. If you're not going to play, if you're going to play here, I'd almost rather expose or play on neither one of those triple words. David can only hit one. That saves the other for me next turn, especially if I can score 61 on the top of this board. But it looks like he's opting for a very defensive play, just HEX, 48 points. He feels if I can't hit that J, you can't either. I'm going to take it away. And that's what Harshan has opted for.
I'd like to, well, we don't have time to do all the sims, but that was a very interesting turn. Take the big X score, keep the H, and leave the J open. But he's obviously thinks it's too dangerous to leave that J just floating there.
This is something we've seen over and over on the top stream from Harshan. He opts to take options away from his opponent to the point that it may even be to his detriment. We watched on day 2, Harshan with an 80-point lead spent or sacrificed so many points across the course of a game that he allowed his opponent to catch up and win, despite never bingoing in that game. But defense definitely always forefront in the heuristics of Harshan. David now, Giortt. To me, this looks like it's going to be Grotto and Reg at the bottom of the board. A good closing play and a way to play off a lot of these tiles.
Yeah, that seems a no-brainer initially, just looking at the board and David's rec. It seems he agrees it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, he takes some time. You want to make sure you don't miss a bingo or anything like that on this situation, of course. But Grotto, a very nice play. He won't be able to use one of those A's to punish the Joe after Harshan's play. And only 28 points now out of that turn for David after the defensive play from Harshan. EMRS was the leave, and he's picked up BDE to go into it. So a reasonable rack here, fairly balanced for Harshan. He'll have some decent options to score. Just dropping BE above Joyance, BOH and EYE, is 28. DEMRS, a leave that could help bingo on this board, but perhaps to the YE, he plays BEDYE or DEBYE, scoring a few additional points. Actually, no, they're 28 and 27 points in that spot. DEMRS, maybe not the best leave here, but ERS bingos will fit on what is otherwise becoming a tight board. They'll fit to the right side of TOUN, forming TEOR and AYUS, and that's got to be something for Harshan to consider as well on this turn.
Yeah, it looks like he was considering Bream, BREEM to MU of Ovula. That was one option, and he's now going to BE. I quite like Badai, but he's playing BE.
One vowel on this pull could be big, as many ERS potential bingos that would play on this board. So perhaps he's just opting to keep things tight. I think I do like this play, and we'll see if he's able to find a vowel in the bag.
Well, David's got a lot of A problems here. He's got 4 A's under that arm.
Wow. Yeah, that is a lot of A's. They can get rid of some of them. RAIA and AREG, AREG, playing for 9 points in the middle bottom part of this board. Acai, also an option for him to play ACAI for 11 points alongside TOUN, though maybe not super excited if I'm David to open this board with my lead, but you've got to try to score points to win the game as well.
This is one of those turns where everything just looks not what you want to play. I think RAIA making a reg is okay for 9 points, but you're keeping 2 A's. Maybe he wants to exchange to ARC. He's looking at Aya, that word we've already seen. But he would play that. Where would he play that? To TA?
Or AT, perhaps? It would set up the front R that he is holding on to.
Yeah. But there are a lot of R's out there. Or are there?
Yeah.
3 have been played. 4 have been played, so there aren't that many R's left. Yeah, that's.
However, a floating A would allow a bingo for Harshan, so this is a pivotal turn in this game. Dragsman, the
It's
bingo.
possible he's got AIA lined up to play Raya, though, isn't it? Also, he could just be looking to play RAIA.
RAIA could be the option here as well, but I think any of these plays alongside TOUN will string an A out, except for this one here.
Yeah,
so Harshan to miss the bingo because of the defense played by David.
Yeah, and I think that's good board awareness by David there. He didn't make a mistake.
So I think from Harshan here, I expect to see likely GAM. GRAM also an option, but with that spot for ERS bingos to fit, in the absence of many other opportunities on this board at all, I'm certainly looking to retain the R here. I think GAM, a very nice play for Harshan here.
Yeah, and David drew into Cardi Eye. Yeah, Harshan just plays DAM.
DAM instead. He's going to hold on to that G instead. Maybe he feels it's better for bingoing next turn. Maybe he feels an eye draw would benefit him. There are 8 E's unseen. 7 to Harshan after that last play, 8 to David, depending on his rack here. AACDEIR, Cardi the rack, no spot to bingo here for David, and we'll have a very interesting turn. A 10-point lead, an unplayable bingo, a board that is quickly running out of opportunity. These are tricky situations. Do I try to open and set up my rack? I try to bingo next turn, or do I try to keep things tight as there is an unseen blank? We'll put the unseen pool on display here. It's rather interesting, and I want everybody a chance to look at this here. 34 unseen, and rather an interesting pool here. Many E's, but otherwise very few vowels.
So that there are not many lanes on the board. Obviously, to the U, we keep talking about to the U, that exists. And the T and the O, which are not really very favorable lanes at all. So David has a bingo, adjacent rack. Maybe he wants to just slip an A and make ALAD in the left-hand side. But that feels very, Harshan's just dropped D and an M. So Harshan has been grooming his rack, and that feels like that's just playing into Harshan's hands. So maybe David doesn't want to open up any more than he needs to.
Yeah, this is such an interesting turn. You'd like to open the board to create opportunity for yourself, but with an unseen blank and the small plays my opponent has made, BE and then DAM, perhaps I don't. Harshan, I realize now, held the G to try to form GU bingos to the left side of uvular. An interesting decision for him.
And a good point by Colby there, Matt, is that Toon also takes an S on top.
Oh, Toon takes an S on top? Yeah. Wow, that changes the analysis 100%.
Yeah, but it's obviously something that Harshan can't make use of on this turn.
So now 2 S's unseen to David. With the knowledge that Toon takes the front S, this far more interesting conversation. For those who are unfamiliar with me, I've largely got NWL experience and don't know some of these CSW opportunities that the board creates. So I was blind to that one, but maybe you're screaming at me through the monitor, Matt, this board is not closed. Apologies for that.
It's not closed regardless. So there's still lanes, but it's not a wide open board. I quite like. I'm beginning to think more and more. I quite like ALAD.
The only downside is if you play there and your opponent bingos, you could be dead in this game.
Yeah, and this is why it's taking so long for David to work this one out.
This turn is so hard.
What about CAA down the side of Toon, blocking the S hook of Toon? You do float a C, but it's not too crazy.
That's a thought. Every option that I see here, I hate.
Yes.
Maybe CAID will end up being the play. I don't know. I'd like to play off at least one E, given just this incredibly skewed nature of the unseen bag. I've got the last two A's in the game as well. A's not so strong, perhaps, but maybe I play CID on the right side of Toon, TOUN. That'll set up my last two A's. It's the only front hook to CID is an A. That's C rather defensive as well. I think I sort of like this play. CID, TI, and OA.
Yeah, that has some merit. You do run the risk of drawing those E's. I think we had a game previously where David drew lots and lots and lots of E's. Because you are playing off two of your constants and leaving an unbalanced rack. But that does have some merits, Matt, CID.
Yeah, I mean, I hate every play here, but I hate that one the least, I think, of the options we've discussed. It also addresses the S hook on Toon that I don't have. Okay, so CAID, what David opts for here, he will play off one of those last two A's. I think maybe a missed opportunity, but David, I'm certain, has a plan here.
Well, he has a fairly good leave. So Harshan now has a tricky turn.
Harshan has to be frustrated. He's held this EGNRS. He's held opportunities to draw ERS bingos, ING bingos, and he just keeps pulling additional consonants. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I don't see many places for him to score too well. And David has pulled into various bingos as well. There's several 7-letter words on his rack. But looks like Harshan's going to play down the side, just play parallel.
Lang and not Glenn? I feel like GLEN for more points makes sense there.
I would agree. And he has the S that he could play underneath for points on the next turn if need be. But anyway, Lang's the play.
Okay, maybe he wants to keep that C available. He feels good opportunities to bingo next turn. I'm not exactly sure what the rationale there is, but David now has thoraces, the only playable bingo for him, the plural of thorax. That'll be 64.
Yeah, he spotted that straight away, and his throwing the C up there paid off.
Glenn would have blocked this too.
Yes, Glenn would have. Yeah, that would have been a little bit more of a defensive play, probably keeping in the style that we've seen from Harshan in the early part of the game. But I think David now is looking, because he has words like Haroset and earshot, ASFOR, ASTHORE, but none of them play, so he's playing the one that does play.
What a curious decision by Harshan not to play Glenn, and it's going to burn him badly. Thoraces comes down for David to take the lead, 340 to 267.
Yeah, and the Z is unseen.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
And that's a huge spot right there above the E. Yeah.
If David draws the Z, this game likely over. If David draws the blank, this game could get out of hand as well. There's the Z.
Yeah, I think Harshan will play above that E, maybe playing wines, but there is another Z spot.
Yeah, just ZE, ZO, probably enough for David in this situation. Wines will score very well for Harshan. He'll get hit back with the Z play. If he's able to find the blank on this draw, though, maybe still a shot for him. Wines for 49 points will bring Harshan to 24 down, but he's going to get hit hard on this next play.
So there's actually a 5-letter Z play that plays above Wines. David's rack is double F and then a 5-letter Z word, which is BEITZ are the letters.
Oh, Zibet.
Yeah.
Zibet is 57, ZE 64, but Zibet, that double F leave, a lot more flexible here.
And it also kills that lane that, there could be some play that plays 7 tiles above Wines. Be unlikely, but it could happen.
Has Harshan found the blank? Yes, he has. EELNRP blank now, the rack for Harshan, although I think a Z play will still outrun a bingo from Harshan here. I think Harshan may be faced with a position where he can't actually bingo this turn. He'll need to try to bingo out to catch David with additional tiles after the Z play.
I think there's a bingo from the D.
There is, and Harshan's found it already, yes. But I think after a play like ZE or Zibet, Harshan will bingo to draw 2 tiles, and he'll still be trailing after the bingo. He's going to lose that game.
Yeah, that blank is a Y on Harshan's record. That's what he's seen from the D. I see that repanel fits above WE and IS, but he's not going to get to play that.
7 tiles in the bag. If David plays the 5 here, he'll draw 5 and leave 2. If David plays the 2 here, he'll draw 2 and leave 5. But in either case, I think if Harshan bingos with Deprinal here, it won't score enough to outrun David in this endgame.
Yeah, I think Glenn. I mean, I'd be interested in knowing Harshan's thoughts about why he played Leng over Glenn. But that seems a very small mistake. But it might just have been the one that changed the, well, not changed, but just he lost control of the game at that point.
Fun trivia. The brand name of Deprinal is very similar to David Eldar's name. It is Eldepril. So that's a fun one. Zibet, the play for David. I like this option for him quite a bit. I'm looking to play longer here, not shorter. And the double F, actually quite synergistic. I think F is the only tile in the game that has positive synergy with itself.
Does 2Es not have a little bit of positive synergy, like very minorly positive?
If it does, I don't think it does in NWL.
What's that? No, I'm kidding.
So Harshan now, Deprinal will score 74. He will still trail by 7 after the play. He'll draw 2 tiles out of the bag. I think it's an unwinnable game if he chooses to bingo now. I think he needs to look to open another line and bingo next turn to have a shot to win.
Exactly. I think you're right, Matt. I think he realizes that playing Deprenal is a losing play. And so he's now thinking, what else could I do? I might have to forego this.
Perhaps we just plunk an E, EL, and ED or something in this situation. But Harshan to play Deprinal, perhaps he hopes he can just draw incredible tiles out of this bag. Maybe the high-scoring EF combination could do it for him. But I think this is just a losing play.
Unfortunately, it's going to be because David has, the 2 Fs, the M and the P. He has enough tiles to score enough points.
The pull for Harshan to be what? GE?
Yeah, GE's in the bag.
We'll see. I'm trying to run it through a simulator now, but I can't imagine this bonus wins in almost any situation.
I see a few 30-point plays. Fem, FEME on 4th row, under 4 Cs, making HM. That's what David's got lined up too. They're doing a score recount, which seems to make sense with the scores being so tight.
It almost looks like David checking tracking here as he's looking around the board for different layers. Yeah. Perhaps he's mistracked.
Yeah, his clock's running, so he's doing this on his own time.
If he hasn't mistracked, then perhaps he's just double checking, as we saw another game, again, blown because of a mistrack.
I think one of the other moves that, we were really interested in from Harshan's perspective is when he played Hex. He gave up playing, was it Remax to the U, holding the H to possibly go under the C next turn. That was another move where we could have, it's all what ifs at this point, but that was a move I think that was very interesting from his perspective.
Yeah, Hex as opposed to Remax, an interesting one. That LENG decision pivotal in this game as David pulls the bingo and then the Z. There's a lot to think about here, and that Y fish earlier in the game from Harshan as well. Very curious decision as well.
Yeah. And unfortunately for him, he found his best blank bingo, and was punished for it. What was his leave when he had Lang? He
Oh, good question. I've forgotten already. Oh, he had a Dragsman. No, that was a
I
different.
think he had NRS.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Yeah, so possibly he also just left the sea, hoping to bingo through it himself. Yeah, it's one of those where it just went the wrong way. But David's going to find a suitably high scoring play here.
Yeah, Quackle suggesting Deprenal 0% to win after the play. Even if you draw the high scoring EF opportunity, there's another E and another F unseen. Your opponent bound to have the same play. Deprenal 0% to win, though perhaps not bingoing was also 0% to win in this situation. I'm not sure how that could have played out, but not enough time to analyze in this situation.
Well, the good news for Harshan is that he has 3 more games and he's still at the, he won't be at the top of the standings, I don't believe, depending on Wellington's result, but and Dave Wiegand's result. But he's still right in this. He's got 3 more games. If he wins them all, he's most likely to be in.
And now we all shift our focus to the Wellington Dave game, as this one nearly over. A Dave Wiegand win would be absolutely wild for this tournament. Dave Wiegand defeating Wellington would mean Harshan, Wellington, Dave each at 21-8, and David Eldar at 20.5 wins. That would be wild. No score yet in the Wiegand-Wellington matchup.
It's interesting that David is taking this amount of time to work through the game and find his best play. I mean, he should definitely take as much time as he needs to, or feels he needs to. But I wonder if he's seeing lots of different plays, or if there's anything specific he's thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, spread could matter. Another tie, obviously, for David could make spread a huge factor, but he has so much of it. Eldar with the spread over 2,000 cumulatively, and every other player near the top of the standings. I don't see anybody above Will Anderson's plus 1290. Maybe just wants to make sure he. Maybe he just wants to make sure he wins this game.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a mistake. Harshan, chat pointing out maybe Deprenal is a good move for spread, and spread is certainly a factor for Harshan. He's narrowly ahead of Wellington on spread right now by about 12 points. But at least I would have spent a little more time thinking on that turn. Harshan has almost 7 minutes left on his clock. I would have tried to see if there's a Hail Mary situation where I can take 100 or take a win or potentially steal a win, as opposed to taking the 100% loss in this situation.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. That it's likely that second place may come down to the same wins and spread, and if he feels, well, I've got a 1% chance of winning this, or 0.5%, but I have a 99% chance of keeping it much closer, then I'll take that. So that might be the right decision in this kind of tournament situation. I'm curious that David's taking this long, though.
He wants to be very sure this play wins for him. This game is actually a little tighter than it may seem, as David with a lot of high-scoring tiles on his rack. Even if he scores 31 with FEME here, he's going to get caught with 16 on his rack, FOP. So he just wants to make sure there aren't any incredible spots to play EG anywhere.
I think the highest one I've spotted is GED down the side of Uvula.
That is the highest one there is currently. Right.
Yeah, he's just doing all the math he needs to do, isn't he? Looks like Andrew Fisher has won and beaten Will Anderson, and Andrew Fisher is now in 4th place.
Boy, I don't think Will Anderson has won a game today. 0-5. Absolute killer for him.
That's crazy.
After starting this tournament, 14-0 or something like that, he has now dropped 5 in a row. Scrabble giveth and Scrabble taketh away. But wow, that is killer. I feel for the guy.
Well, David found the best play, so hats off. That's super strong play.
Hats off indeed. Harshan to play out for 14 GED, as James had spotted, and this will be an 8-point victory when it's all said and done in David Eldar's favor.
Yeah, so I guess we're just all really, really waiting on this Wellington Dave Wiegand result. That's going to be a pivotal.
I imagine at this juncture in the tournament, they will not pair the next round until all results come in to ensure the matchups are as competitive as they can be. I've just refreshed. There are no round 30 pairings. So for those watching along, expect slightly longer delays between games than we've had in the past. But that doesn't mean you can go anywhere. Of course, we've got to figure out who's playing for a world championship tomorrow, and y'all got to stay on stream with us for that.
Well, David has 16 points on his rack that Harshan will get. So Harshan is just looking, hope beyond all hope. Can he find enough points with his GE? So he may well take all the time he needs to look for that. You wouldn't just give up. You would keep looking.
And an exciting result in Dave Wiegand has defeated Wellington by 2 points.
Wow.
430 to 428. So that combined with the Harshan loss here means this tournament is going to get absolutely bonkers. At this point, many players in contention. If Charles of Ghana is able to win his game, he now vaults into contention as well. Wow.
We're going to have Harshan and Wellington and Wiegand all at 8 losses, and David Eldar at 8.5. With Andrew Fisher at 9. That's so tight. All within one game of each other.
3 games to play, and the gap couldn't be any tighter between the players at the top.
And Adam Logan has also won, Matt. So he's
Adam Logan, yes, defeating Charles of Ghana. That's a tough loss for Charles and a big win for Adam, who may yet sneak into the finals.
God, this is so tight, isn't it? These last 3 games are just going to be crazy.
Oh, man.
I don't blame Harshan in this position for taking his time to try and find the win. There's no point giving up. You have to, keep trying until the end.
All right, so somebody smarter than me has run the analysis. Deprinal does have a potential winning situation if Harshan were to draw ME as the last 2 tiles out of the bag. He would have gone on to win. With the abundance of ease, that draw a little bit more likely than you may think. So my apologies to the chat and to Harshan. Deprinal was not a 0% situation.
I don't feel too bad that we didn't work that out in our heads, Matt.
Watching the chat, talking, watching the game, putting the position in Quackle all at the same time does require a good degree of multitasking. I've also been doing this 11 of the last 12 days. I will occasionally make a mistake, but thank goodness we have the smart folks in chat to keep us honest here.
This is always a funny position, isn't it? When you've basically, that your opponent's going out, you have nothing left to do in the game but just sit patiently and wait.
Yes. And David doing exactly that, taking a nap off camera. I'm watching the rest of the scoreboard come in. It looks like nearly everything has shaken out. Englishman Lewis McKay has also picked up a 236-point victory to vault himself up into 7th place. But I think he, at this point, out of contention. It's likely coming down to the top 5 or 6 in this situation.
And a good point by Robin in the chat here that, Harshan only losing this by a very few points is actually going to keep him just in first place on spread. If he does manage to lose by only eight points.
Wow, yeah, he was ahead by 12. Wellington losing by 2. Harshan to lose by 8. He'll stay ahead.
He found his best play, and he's going to hit the clock at some point.
He has to know he's done in this game. He hates to admit it. He hates to accept it, but just short in this game.
Yeah.
There you have it, folks. The final in this one is going to be a 7-point game in David Eldar, or 8-point game in David Eldar's favor, 428 to 420. With that, we'll have nearly all of the results in, waiting on a few more matchups. Tacha of Thailand and Jeremy Hildebrand. They'll wait for all the results to come in before pairing our next game, which means for just a few moments, we will step away. We want to make sure we bring the most compelling matchup with the most playoff ramifications to you. I think we're going to cut to a brief intermission here. Let's try to get the overhead mic real quick for Harshan. I think he's just recounting, but we'll see if we can catch any noise here. Nothing louder than the silence of a recount.
I wonder if David got up to go look at the other results.
Perhaps. What else is he to do with this time?
Or just take a few moments away from the table to relax.
I got it. Yeah. I beat Will as well. Sorry? I beat Will. Really? Oh my god. The Australian. Who did you beat? The great Australian return.
No action here as David Eldar has walked away from board one. We've got to let the pairing machine do its magic and the heads behind the booth at this tournament figure out who's going to play who next in order to keep most chances alive for that final 2 spots. 3 games to play here from the World Scrabble Championship in Las Vegas, Nevada, before we go to tomorrow's best of 7 finals. We'll cut away for a brief moment. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll have more Scrabble in a few minutes.